everyone, and welcome to Opinions, Facts, and Stats podcast. My name is Tyler. Getting ready to get this thing started. I got my co-host over here. Go ahead.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Garrett. Very excited. Episode 1, and let's just get right into it. Let's talk Patriots offensive coordinators. What are we thinking? Who of these candidates do we think is it going to be?
So honestly, let's get this started, right? I think the easiest one is you're going to start with Nick Caley, right? Nick Caley is the guy that everyone thought was going to be the coordinator last year, but we all know Bill Belichick. He's the man with the plan. He thinks that, Matt Patricia is his best friend, his buddy. He wants the guy he trusts the most. I know a lot of people have their different opinions on if Nick Caley should have been the guy or not. I definitely can be the first one to say here that I think Nick Caley should have been the choice, but we kind of know how that went.
Reports, I think a lot of reports too seem like that Kraft kind of wanted to go the Nick Caley route as well, and I think the year of disappointment, I think that really phoned in on giving Nick Caley the shot. Again, speculation can be what it is, why he didn't get the shot last year, but I think that, giving him a shot now, it's kind of redundant, but he absolutely deserves the shot.
He does deserve a shot, but I think that I would look at it too is Bill Belichick trying to help make up for his mishap last year? Because Nick Caley went out there and did an interview with the New York Jets, and we know the Jets fired their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, and Mike LaFleur now is the offensive coordinator or offensive assistant with the Los Angeles Rams. We understand that Nick Caley wants a bigger opportunity, and I would not be surprised if he leaves New England to go somewhere else. He deserves that shot.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Absolutely. And it wouldn't be disrespectful for him to take a shot. If you're going to look at his credentials, this didn't help him at all. I think we lacked in every area on the offense compared to what we were last year. I think he was at the top of his game last year instead of going into this year. I think this hurt his credentials. So if we weren't interviewing him last year, what's the point of interviewing him now? Because it's not like our tight ends, blew the tops off of the defenses and stuff like that. We even had less production than we had the year before, with the two guys that we signed on huge contracts, and they were supposed to break out, and they didn't break out last year. Hunter Henry was very good. Jonnu, injuries, stuff like that. But then this year, it was even worse. Worse.
And that's the hardest thing because, I feel for Nick Caley, honestly, because you got a guy here who is young. He's only 38 years old. He's not an old guy at all, and he's an up-and-coming coach. But how can you go back and sit here and go, hey, let's put Nick Caley in here after you didn't even interview him last year?
Yep.
That's pretty much what you're saying, Bill, that they already have a guy in mind, and now you're interviewing Nick Caley because you didn't do it last year. You're trying to help a wrong that you didn't do.
Yes.
And now Nick Caley's going to sit here and go, why am I even bothering with this if you guys didn't even trust me last year? And you put a defensive guy in there, and Matt Patricia, that in reality had no experience.
No.
He had nothing.
No.
He was a defensive mind. He didn't know how to call an offense, and Bill trusted him, and we all see how that went. It didn't go well. He struggled. And now Nick Caley deserves to go out there and see what he can do.
Even, let's say that Bill's master plan was Matt Patricia all along. Why wouldn't you make him like an offensive assistant, behind McDaniels, or even give Nick Caley a year, and if he struggles, you have Matt Patricia learning for a year in the wings instead of throwing him to the dogs literally the first year. And not only just making him offensive coordinator, you make him the offensive line coach. You put Joe Judge in, and literally as a QB coach. There's so many questions that this year I just don't think made sense, and a lot of things didn't make sense.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing because we all know how Bill operates. Bill wants the guys he trusts.
Yep.
Now, does that mean he didn't trust Nick Caley? We have no idea.
Yeah.
We don't know inside those buildings, inside those meetings. He could love Nick Caley, but because he trusts Matt Patricia, he went with that guy.
Yep.
So hopefully he gets a shot. If it's here, awesome. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere else.
Okay.
But I was intrigued, though, because the Patriots did interview a few more offensive-minded guys.
Let's get into those. Let's get into those.
But they were definitely people that kind of caught your interest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's start with this name, Keenan McDarrell.
Yep.
This guy was the Vikings wide receivers coach. And let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the Vikings one of, if not the best wide receiver in the NFL? Who was it?
Justin Jefferson.
And that right there tells you kind of what kind of coach he is.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can all sit here all day and say, well, the receivers on the Patriots that great? They were okay. They were average. You got some production.
We've got a lot of B and B plus, B minus players on our team. They could get to A. They could get there, but right now with what we have, they're B.
They are B, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
Having B's on an offense is fantastic, but we don't have that A. So I wonder if they brought this guy Keenan in, would he, because he coached wide receivers,
Mm-hmm.
Going from receivers coach to offensive coordinator is a big jump.
It's a good leap. It's a good leap.
But you're calling the plays, you're running the entire offense, right? So this guy could come in here, I think he's around like 50, 51 years old, could be wrong there, but I think that he has plenty of experience.
Yep.
Like right here, he's saying that he actually played 4 seasons for Bill Belichick. I don't know if anybody knew that, but he actually played on the Cleveland Browns.
There you go.
Bill Belichick coached the Cleveland Browns.
That is dated.
1995.
That is dated.
We sit here and go, that's a decade. That's a long time ago.
Yep.
Like we weren't even born yet during those times.
Nope.
And this guy was on the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yep.
So you definitely know that he has experience with Bill, which is a good thing. But having experience as a player with Bill compared to a coaching with Bill, it could be tough.
Yes.
So we're gonna have to see there. Like I said, if he came in here as the wide receiver coach. What do you think about that? I mean, he was your receiver coach. We have Troy Brown, but,
I think that, obviously getting wide receiver coaches in here, we have Troy Brown right now, who obviously is a Patriots Hall of Famer, one of the greatest wide receivers to ever play for the Patriots. He played on all aspects of the game. He was even a defender for a while. I think rating Troy Brown on this year, I don't think is giving. I don't think rating anybody on this year besides Matt Patricia and Joe Judge is really giving anybody credit.
I understand that, but you still have to look at it and go and say these receivers are running into each other.
No, you absolutely correct.
Technique,
right? Absolutely correct. Say it again.
Troy Brown's the one coaching technique.
Yes, no, absolutely correct. I think that he's absolutely the one coaching technique, and that is a very, very valid point. I just think that with the offensive coordinator that we had and the offensive schemes that we had, and on 3rd and 17, we have wide receivers clanking into each other, where literally we have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith hurting each other. I think that we've got a lot of problems, more than just Troy Brown, to be honest with you. We got a lot of problems.
I think we can sit here all day and say the whole coaching staff have their own issues.
Yes.
Yes, starting with Bill Belichick, because he's the one that put these guys in the position.
Yep.
It's always going to go back on Bill. And that's not saying that Bill isn't a great coach. We all know what he does.
Mm-hmm.
We all know how successful he is. But he put these guys in these places.
Yep, it's true.
And that's either good or bad. That was his choice.
Yep.
So obviously we're going to look at the top down. And he's the top guy. And he made the choice to put Patricia and Joe Judge in a power spot.
Yes.
And they did not succeed. Again, you've told me before, we don't know how Joe Judge did.
Nope.
Joe Judge could have been a great quarterback coach.
He was hanging in the shadows the whole time, hanging in the shadows.
And, Mac and him could have had a great rapport together. But it still showed, though, that, Mac Jones on the field was getting so heated.
Just very.
During what? Wasn't it like week 12 and or 14 and so? Because during those weeks, you saw how heated he got.
Yeah, you're playing down the stretch. You have every tool you need to succeed, and the architect that we had just was not getting it done. Was not getting it done, and you can clear frustrations and not only just from Mac, but you can clearly tell that after game interviews, wide receivers are frustrated and tight ends are frustrated, and offensive line is clearly frustrated.
And that point right there is the next great point that we got here about a guy named Adrian Clem, the Oregon associate head coach. Now, this guy was the associate head coach, but he also was the offensive line coach.
Good.
And let me tell you this. In Oregon was rated the number one offensive line in all of college football. Now, we can sit here and say that college football to NFL is a big change.
Yes.
We know it is. You know, the pass rushers are bigger, the linebackers are faster, even the corners and safeties are, you know, multi-dimensional, who can move around the field at whim. So you need a good old line coach.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings back to the point of Matt Patricia.
Yep.
Again, I'm not trying to pick on the guy, but he was tasked with offensive coordinator, offensive line coach.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work to you?
A point that we, you and I were talking the other day, where a point where, like, say there's 8 hours in a day where Matt Patricia is going to be a coach. How many hours does he allocate to being an offensive coach, being the offensive coordinator, and how many hours does he allocate to the offensive line? There's no way that you can do. If you only have 8 hours, do you really think he's, you know, doing 4 and 4? Do you think he's doing, you know, 6 as the offensive coordinator and 2 as the offensive line coach? Like, obviously somewhere something had to be depleted a little bit. And it was clear as day that, to be honest with you, I think both were depleted. I think both were just uncared for and unmanaged. And there's only so much. I think that even putting the best offensive coordinator in a position like that first year on a new team, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle. Not only that, you put a guy who was on the other side of the field for his whole coaching career, and you put him on the offense, and you expect him to learn an offense and teach it to these guys who have been in this scheme before for a whole year. Second-year guys like Mac Jones, second year, but Hunter Henry was his second year on the team. John O. Smith, second year on the team. Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. We have all these pieces that is their second year on the team. They already are adjusted. They already have the necessary steps to succeed the next year. We're not making a new puzzle. They were putting the puzzle pieces throughout the whole year, and then you have a coach coordinator come in, and he's trying to learn the absolute basics of offense, and then take these guys who already know the offense and the basics because they're professionals and teach them at the same time of him being taught and learning. It did not. It was a recipe for disaster. Again, nothing against Matt Patricia too, because I mean, to be honest with you, if Bill Belichick called you right now and said, "Hey, do you want to be the offensive coordinator for the Patriots?" No one in the world is turning that down, man. I'm telling you. I mean, if
they want to be, you're able to coach an NFL football team,
yes,
right? And even if for a guy who had all that experience, you know, with the Lions, with the Patriots,
yep,
defending Super Bowls when he was the defensive coordinator during Super Bowl runs for the Patriots. Of course, the guy's gonna take the job.
Yep.
I mean, you'd be stupid if you wouldn't.
Yep.
But you know, unfortunately, that's kind of what happens with some of these teams, right? We sit here all day and think to ourselves, well, this coach really isn't experienced in this kind of field, so why is he getting the job?
Yes.
It all goes back to that trust factor, doesn't it? The trust.
Yep.
Bill Belichick trusts him, and that's fine. You know, he can trust him all he wants, but Bill needs to look at himself now. And you know what? We can sit here and say, yes, I think he is now. Right? Him and Robert Kraft, Belichick and Robert Kraft have now had a meeting signifying there needs to be change.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And, you know, I think that perfectly segues into our next offensive coordinator that we can discuss. His name is Sean Jefferson. All right? If no one really knows about him, he's the Cardinals associate head coach / wide receiver coach.
Here you go.
And I'm kind of getting a trend here. If maybe you're catching on to it too, that the Patriots seem to be bringing guys in who, one, are an associate head coach.
Mm-hmm.
2, coach positions of needs
yes.
for the Patriots.
Yep.
Right? Okay, because this guy played for the Patriots and drafted by the Patriots in 1996. Only played 1 year, though, for the Patriots. Okay. So, he knows Bill, but I wouldn't say he's an expert on Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
Yep.
Then he went with Bill Parcells to the New York Giants, and you know, we all know kind of what went on over there. But this guy's an up-and-coming coach, right? He coached DeAndre Hopkins. He coached Christian Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
And we see what Christian Kirk's doing now in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
You know, we can sit here and say that the contract he got was, you know, maybe he was overpaid. I think we both can agree he was. He kind of destroyed the wide receiver market.
He destroyed them. I would say he destroyed the market, but I mean, clearly this year you put him on a team where they're going to use him, and he's being used. He's being used.
But that brings a great point, though. They had Doug Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
And what does a good offensive-minded coach do for them? Because what happened to Trevor Lawrence the year before with Urban Meyer?
Yeah.
How bad was he?
Yeah.
He was bad.
He was bad. He was bad. He had no, and he in the weapons that he had last year to the weapons he had this year, it's night and day. You know, they gave him Evan Ingram. They gave him, you know, Christian Kirk. You know, Travis Etienne is coming into his own. You know, they built around Trevor Lawrence, and
they did.
Looks nice over there.
And so my whole mindset here is the Patriots are bringing guys in who have experience at different positions. Now, let me ask you this question. Does that bring into the fact that maybe these guys really aren't going for the offensive coordinator position? Yes, they say that they're interviewing for offensive coordinator, but I mean, our last guy on the list is, well, we can just say it right now, is, I think you know who I'm talking about.
The meat and potatoes.
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien.
You know, this guy, we have a lot to say about him.
A lot to say.
You know, both with the Patriots a while back, with Tom Brady,
yep,
with Bill Belichick. And we know his resume. You know, he coached with the Patriots, then he went back to college, coached at Penn State,
yep,
the head coach there. He was a damn good head coach there.
Yep.
And then he got his shot in the NFL as the head coach of Houston Texans.
Yep. Yep.
And the Texans drafted who? Who did they draft as their quarterback?
Doesn't ring a bell right now.
No. Deshaun Watson.
That actually, I am disappointed in myself that I completely forgot about that. Yeah, that is. I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed.
No, I get it, but yeah,
I feel ashamed.
They drafted, and let me tell you right now, we all know what Deshaun Watson did with Houston.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien came in there, and Bill O'Brien, if people don't realize this, he did not have a losing season in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't. But they weren't winning the playoffs. No,
they weren't winning, you know, the big games, and that's why obviously movement happened over there. I mean, you know, he ruffled some feathers. I'm gonna be honest with you. There was some people that weren't the fondest for him, but with saying that, I think that with Mac Jones's fire and his passion and his ability to express himself, I think if you can use the YouTube, you can clearly see videos with Tom Brady and Bill O'Brien going back and forth with each other.
Or Tom Brady and Josh McDaniels going at each other.
Yeah. So I think that Bill O'Brien brings that sense of fire that we need to look at in Mac, and the fact that at the end of his press conference, Mac Jones clearly states that he wants to be coached harder. And I think if someone's going to be hard on him, it's going to be Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, and one thing that I didn't realize that they call Bill O'Brien the teapot.
Yes.
Because when it comes out hot and fiery.
Yeah.
And that's what Bill O'Brien is known for.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones is, I think we can sit here and say that he's a fiery kind of player.
I think that Mac, again, I don't know him personally, but I think that Mac is the type of guy that takes criticism very well. I think that he doesn't need to be screamed at, but I definitely think that he needs a loud voice or a more dominant voice to tell him, you know, this is right, this is wrong. I think that Matt Patricia, to be honest with you, I think he was just kind of really passive. I don't think there was much communication besides, you know, like what's going on, what's going on. I think if Mac does start to get hot and fiery, I think Bill O'Brien will be the one person to not put him in his place, but definitely shoot the fire back at him. And that I think will motivate Mac. I think Mac will take that very positively. I don't think Mac's the type of guy to sit back and tuck his tail between his legs and cower. I mean, clearly, you know, how many times were the Patriots training for Bailey Zappi and he still went out there and he still put a brave face on and he still tried his best. So I don't think he's the type of guy. I don't think he takes criticism the wrong way. I think he's actually a motivator when it comes to, I mean, he gets motivated when it comes to constructive criticism. That's a word. Those are words. Those are words in the English language. But I think he takes that very well.
Yeah, and I I can understand that. Mac Jones, and again, you and me have gone back and forth on this for I don't know how long we've been discussing this
This
topic,
whole
but
year.
yeah, Mac Jones to me is see. I want people to understand that I'm not a downer on Mac.
Hmm.
I like Mac. I'm not someone who thinks he can't be the starting quarterback here or the future quarterback of the Patriots.
Yep.
I just have a hard time again. Maybe this is me looking at the Mahomes, the Herberts, the Allens, the Lamars, the all those kind of guys that just have the it factor.
Yep.
They just have when you need a big play, they're gonna go out there and they're gonna make that big play,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And we can sit here all day and go, Mac Jones, not the strongest arm in the world,
Nope.
but I do not agree that he has a noodle arm.
No.
And you even said to me, you even came up with the stats. What did you tell me yesterday about Mac Jones and his arm?
So looking online, and stats are available for everybody, not just for me. He is tied for sixth with 7 passes over 40 yards. He has tied at sixth. There are, you want to hear quarterbacks that are below 7 40-yard passes? Trevor Lawrence is one. Geno Smith, but Geno Smith had a great year. He had a great passing year, more importantly.
Yeah.
Another one, I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, really?
Aaron Rodgers threw less 40-yard passes than Mac Jones.
Well,
I don't know if you.
Green Bay was their whole offense was kind of.
It was bad. It was bad. But there's also one more thing where Aaron Rodgers did play all 17 games, and Mac did miss 4 of them. So he kind of had a head start on Mac Jones. Again, I'm not here saying that Mac Jones is going to throw 80 yards. He doesn't. He's got a very, comparable or compatible arm for the NFL. And what he lacks in, Mac Jones and Josh Allen arm strength, I think that if you watch, obviously, the Bills game, he threw 3 interceptions, and we know why. He was forcing it. He was trying to catch up, and it was the last game, and he was putting everything he had out there. But before that, his last 2 interceptions were both off-tipped balls. He got hit in the arm. He threw 2 interceptions that were he got tipped. They flopped in the air like a duck, and they were intercepted. He did not throw an actual interception since.
I want to disagree with that. But what about the one when he threw it to Davius White though, with Nelson Aguilar on the outside? I think it was on the left side of the.
That was
field, in the corner of the end zone.
That was right? Was it the pick 6 callback?
No, that was the first interception. The one where he threw the ball and Tre'Davious White was right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Aguilar was on the outside.
Oh, you're talking the last Bills game?
Yeah, the last Bills game.
Okay.
When Aguilar was right on the sideline,
yep.
And he didn't even go for the ball. And we can nitpick it and say that Aguilar should have jumped for the ball, should have fought harder, this and that. But Mac, if you watch the replay and look back, Mac did throw on the inside. He should have thrown a fade over his shoulder, but he didn't do that. He threw it more inside, and White was kind of sitting right there.
I watched the all 22 of that one, and I watched it again, and I'm going to be honest with you that Mac did throw it weird off his back foot. It was not a planted foot, and if you look at it, sure, the pocket looks super clean. I think that when you're throwing to the left, you have your eyes on the left, and it did feel like Trent Brown was kind of struggling a little bit. The left side was kind of concaving. I think he just tried to get the ball out of there, and he did throw it off his back foot. It was a wiry throw. Again, Aguilar could have fought for it. That's not. I mean, it is in his job description, but I'm not going to fault that on Nelson Aguilar. That was a off throw by Mac.
Now, do you feel like throughout the game, the reason that Mac threw off his back foot is that even though he wasn't, like, from what you're saying, pressured as severely as he could have been, do you think he was feeling a little jittery in the pocket there?
I think so.
Do you think he was feeling a little like, all right, I need to get the ball out quicker than I want to, and he saw Aguilar on the left side, thinking that, hey, if I throw this ball over there, he might have a chance to get it.
Yep.
I mean, what do you think about that?
I think that's something that we've seen all year with Mac. I think that, the end of the Ravens game, down by 2 scores, he's trying everything he can. He has a 300-pound defender land directly on his ankle. Yeah. Out for 4 games, comes back, against Chicago. Even the offensive line they looked really leaky right there. And I just think all year this year we've had a lot of new protection schemes, and it just seemed like that Mac didn't trust them at all. I don't think he didn't trust the players. I think that the way that were, cutting in, cutting out, going to the left, going to the right. I just think that he didn't trust what was going on and what he was dealing with. I think he was getting pressured a lot. Obviously, when anyone goes through an injury, anytime they're cautious to not go through that injury again. But I just think that I don't think there was any problems that he had with the offensive line players. I do think that with this new package that we're throwing out there, and the fact that, to be honest with you, the Bills game, we threw more play action passes in the Bills game than we did with Mac the last 6 weeks.
Well, and that's a great point right there. I love that you brought up that point. Play action, right? Alabama Mac Jones, he thrived in play action. I mean, that was his bread and butter. That is what he ran, right? But for some strange reason, Matt Patricia, again, he would call play action 2 plays, right? Or he would call 4 in the first half, and then none or 1 in the second half. And you sit here and you go back and go, what are we doing here, right? Like, we see how successful Mac looked doing play action. And then you go away from that completely. And that is where the disconnect, I felt like, from Mac and Matt Patricia were, right? Mac knew what he could do. Mac knew how he could succeed. But yet, for some reason, Patricia was like, no, let's throw 5 screens to the right and then 2 screens to the left. That, yes, the Marcus Jones screen that he took it for the touchdown, 100%. That was great.
Great play.
Marcus Jones, we saw how talented he is.
Yes.
But we can't be running screens like that every down.
No.
And it showed at the end of the year. Ramondre Stevenson was gassed.
Oh, yeah.
And he was tired. And do you blame the guy?
No.
I mean, he played almost 95% of every snap. Maybe almost 100. Especially when Damien Harris went down. That's not going to be successful for a whole year.
No, it was very conservative. And then, I mean, a lot of debate between Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones, and I'm not going to get into it because it's clear who I think is the better quarterback. I don't know if you can see the Mac Jones right there, but the offense we ran was completely different. I think a lot of people forget that, everyone says the offensive line was the same, and this and that, and it wasn't, because I don't know if you remember, but we had Marcus Cannon as our second right tackle. We had a second right tackle for. He did, yeah. And then once he went down, I mean, he was used as an extra body anyway. But we were running with 6 offensive linemen for a little bit, and with that, Zappi was able to we were running the ball great. Our yards per carry were up a little bit more. Our yards per game as running game was up a little bit more. And with doing that, if you look at the screens, Bailey Zappi was completely able to execute the screens. Again, Bailey Zappi, I think, will be a very serviceable quarterback one day. I just think that with the potential that we have in Mac Jones, round 1, pick 15, I think that you can't go wrong with starting and keeping Mac. It's not the same investment we have picking a round 1 quarterback than picking a round 4 quarterback. And you can look at Mac and you can look at the stats, and to be honest with you, if you look at Mac Jones and you look at his first 2 years, obviously, we're going to take the fact that he, this year was a very bad year. But if you compare his first year and his second year, and you compare it to, there's a lot of different quarterbacks that you can compare it to. But let's say a name that everyone knows and everyone loves. Let's just say Tom Brady. In their first 2 years, Mac and Tom Brady started the same amount of games. They both started 31 games. Also, I want to bring in one more thing. One of those games that Mac Jones technically started was the Chicago game. He only played 3 drives in that game, but it is what it is. If we look at Tom Brady and we look at Mac Jones in their first 2 years, 31 games. A lot of people give me pushback with this topic because of how, the quarterbacks weren't as used as they are now, and how it's a lot different passing game. With that said, in Tom Brady's first 31 games, he threw 1,014 pass attempts. Mac Jones has only threw 963. So we can talk about how the offense is now is a lot passing attack, but in 31 games, Tom Brady attempted upwards to 60 to 70 more passes than Mac Jones. We can just go by completion percentage. In those 31 games, Tom Brady had a 62.8 completion percentage. Mac Jones had a 66.5. We can talk about yards. In those 31 games, Tom Brady had 6,607, and Mac Jones had 6,798. We could talk about QBR. Tom Brady had an 86 QBR. Mac Jones had an 89 QBR. When we talk about touchdowns, Tom Brady did beat Mac Jones when it comes to touchdowns. He did have 10 more touchdowns than Mac Jones. He had 46. Mac Jones had 36. And I think that's a direct correlation with how bad our red zone was. Our red zone was absolutely abysmal this year. It was we couldn't score at all. We fumbled the balls most of the times. We kicked field goals. We weren't aggressive in any nature. We just weren't aggressive. So I think that Mac is a great. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. And again, I'm not trying to sell anybody on Mac Jones. I'm not trying to tell anybody that Mac Jones is the QB.
Yeah, and one thing I want to get into this and let everybody know too that we're not sitting here saying that Mac Jones is going to be Tom Brady.
No.
We're not saying here that Mac Jones is better than Tom Brady. We're not saying that.
No.
Okay. And I want to get that out of the way there that we're by no means saying that.
My point.
That we want people to understand that, comparably, their first 2-3 years, they're pretty comparable.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have another stat I want to throw out to you, and this doesn't have to do with quarterbacks, but I want to do with running backs, right?
Good.
When you look at last year, right? Last year we averaged 128 yards per game.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
It's not crazy, but it's right there. This year, ready for this? We averaged only 101 yards per game.
Yep.
Now, again, we can say with the scheme, with the running, the offense, how it ran. We also have to understand that Damian Harris was out.
Yep.
In and out of a lot of games. He was not healthy this year.
No.
When he was healthy, he did well. He did. But for the most of the season, you're looking at Ramondre Stevenson being your bell cow.
Yeah.
He was the one going to be running, every game, almost every down, because they drafted 2 rookies in Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris, but we all know how Bill looks at rookie running backs.
Yes.
Doesn't really play them.
No.
But when they did play them in that one game, they played pretty well.
Yep.
Right? But this all goes back to, this is the point that I've been wanting to make, we don't have a third down back at all.
No.
Okay. Yes, Stevenson caught the ball really well. He did. But you're relying on this guy to be your bell cow, your receiving back, your pass blocker, everything. You can't rely on that one guy. You look at the Titans, right? Derrick Henry. He is just a freak.
Yep.
He's a freak athlete.
Yep.
But he's not catching the ball in the backfield, right? He's running the ball down your throat, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
And he is good at it.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
But, we don't have that guy. Now, we all thought Ty Montgomery was going to be that guy, but unfortunately, injuries happen.
Yep.
He can't control that. He was a guy that everyone thought would be that guy, and he showed well beginning of the season, even in preseason. That injury took him out, and he never got fully better, and he didn't come back. So that's the hard thing that we sit here and go, well, if Ty Montgomery was healthy, would he have made that big of a difference? I don't think he would have made a huge difference, but he would have helped Stevenson not have to be in the game 24/7.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest aspect that we can bring into that. And this all goes back to Bill O'Brien, right? Bill O'Brien comes in here. Is he going to be the guy that's going to change this offense? I've been thinking to myself about this one. I don't think Bill O'Brien's going to come here and drastically change this offense. I don't think he's going to come in here and we're going to be starting scoring 40 points a game.
No.
Right? At Alabama, when he was coaching Alabama with Bryce Young, who we'll get into later about Young and all the quarterbacks and whatnot, but Bill O'Brien with the Alabama offense, they actually had a down year. Now, I don't want everybody being like, wait, then why are we bringing Bill O'Brien in here if they had a down year with Alabama? Alabama's supposed to be this, nonstop top team in college football. Well, 2 years ago, and even last year, they had guys named Jameson Williams, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. This year, they had no names like that. These were all freshmen who barely played. So you can sit here and go, was it Bill O'Brien? Was it Bryce Young? You all can make your own judgment on that. I'm not here to sway you either way. All I'm trying to tell you is Bill O'Brien, they still scored 44 points a game.
Yeah. On a
That's a
down
lot of
year.
points in college football.
On a down
Oh,
year.
the year before, the 2 years before that, sorry, they averaged 50 points a game. Okay, well, that's still insane either way.
Fire everybody. Get rid of everybody.
Exactly, right? That's what I mean. If you're only scoring 44 points a game, so well, see you later,
Yeah.
safety. See you later, guys. Like they all need to go now. You're not scoring 50. I don't think it was on Bill O'Brien. I really don't.
No.
Bryce Young came out and said he loved Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
Like he loved him. Like Bryce Young kept saying that Bill O'Brien was in there, tearing him a new one, being like, oh, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And Bryce Young was like, I loved Bill.
Yeah.
Like, this guy was a great coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everyone's got their own opinion about him. He's a hothead, he's this, he's that. I don't care. You already reiterated how you think Mac Jones needs that fire coach.
I think so.
That guy with the fire in his belly, because Mac Jones has that, right?
Yep.
That's what you said. So why not bring a guy like Bill O'Brien in here?
Mm-hmm.
He has experience in this offense. He knows what to do. Okay, he worked with Mac Jones. Mac Jones taught Bill O'Brien the offense at Alabama last year there. Think about that. That tells you how smart Mac Jones is.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is really smart. He taught Bill O'Brien an entire offense himself.
Yeah.
Now, that's not easy to do.
No.
Right? So Bill O'Brien coming in here, I think they're going to run the same kind of concepts, right? The same kind of patterns, how they've been running it. Now, I don't know if they're going to keep with their running scheme. I don't know if they're going to go more zone, or they're going to go more heavy. I'm not sure. I'm not one to sit here and tell you that. I don't know that. Right?
Yeah.
We're just fans here trying to tell you what we think, right? I think that Bill's going to come in here. He's going to have a great coaching mind, great concepts, and just a good attitude overall. But I want to explain this to you, though, again.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you a question, right? Bill O'Brien was the head coach of the Texans.
Yep.
Right? He had all autonomy of the team, right? We all know Bill Belichick. This is his team.
Yep.
He wants full control.
Yep.
Right? Because I've been reading reports here that Bill O'Brien is a little skeptical to come in with Bill Belichick. Meaning, he is not sure that if he comes here, is he going to have full control of the offense?
Yes. Yep.
Is he going to be the one to make his own coaching staff? Is he going to be the one to be able to choose who he wants? Now, what do you think about that? Do you think Bill Belichick now is ready to just be like, no, Bill O'Brien, go. Take your offense. Figure it out.
I think this year was a clear reminder that Bill needs to rely on more than just himself. I think that Bill Belichick. I think Belichick is going to give O'Brien whatever he needs. I think O'Brien is going to be able to run this offense the way he wants, but I obviously think that Belichick is always going to be a voice in his ear. I think Belichick's going to be like, well, if we're going to do it this way, why don't we, think about doing it this way? I honestly think that if Bill O'Brien comes in, like, we're not going to look that much different. There's going to be one thing that is going to be clear and obvious, though, is that discipline will be back in the building. And I think that was a huge thing that we were missing this year. I think our points per game are going to go up. They're not going to go up drastically. I don't think our, yards per game, I don't think anything's going to go up drastically. We've always been a team that has a great defense and an offense that limits our mistakes. And what did we do time and time again this year?
Made so many mistakes.
We fumble against the Bengals when we're trying to chew clock, where we're lateraling to Mac Jones like he's Barry Sanders and he's going to juke out 15 people. Yeah. Where you can even go back all the way to week 3 when we're playing Baltimore. And Baltimore literally, Nelson Aguilar, we're driving down the field, down by 1 score. We're driving down the field, no issues. Nelson Aguilar catches a pass, and he's running for 15 yards after the catch, and the ball just comes out of his hand. Baltimore gets it, drives down the field. We're up by 2 scores, and then we're fighting again. Like, this is just a constant, the penalties, with so many penalties. We were just constant mistakes, special teams. Let 2 kick return touchdowns against the Bills. When has that ever happened on a New England Patriots team?
Yeah, never.
Never.
Never. And that shows you right there. This Patriots team this year was so undisciplined.
Very, extremely undisciplined.
Bill Belichick team is disciplined as hell. But this year, running into the kicker, simple things. Again, yes, it was on Pierre Strong. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
He'll learn. He made a mistake. I don't want to hold that against the guy. I
Yeah.
mean, he's trying to make the play, trying to block the punt. You got to be more aware where you are. So we can nitpick that all we want, but still, against the Bills, you run two, not one, not even zero, two kickoff return touchdowns.
Again,
where he was even barely touched.
Yeah, he got one hit on one of them, I think, and then he was free the other one. Yeah. I think Bill O'Brien is not going to, obviously, he's not going to deal with special teams, but I just think that having a voice in that locker room where you just don't have so much dysfunction and coaches and players and players going, I know more than the coach, and the coaches thinking that the players are unruly, I think Bill O'Brien nips all of that in the butt the second he walks in the door. He walks in the door and he goes, I'm Bill O'Brien, this is how this room is going to be, ran.
You say that, though, but it's this generation this year too.
It is.
Find ways to get their voice out there. If it's through Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it does not matter.
It's true.
And I feel like that's what he had a hard time with this year. Young guys coming in here being like, I'm gonna take one example, Jack Jones.
Yep.
Everyone questioned why. Like, they knew he was injured. They were like, why is he getting suspended?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, I found out that he talked back to Bill.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to get in Bill's face.
No.
And we know how Bill is. Bill hates that. He will not tolerate that.
No.
And I think that's where, like you said, with Bill O'Brien and Bill Belichick together, they're going to get that room back in order. I'm not saying that they're going to come in here and they're going to be like soldiers over here where they're going to be like, I think they're going to still have fun. They're still going to be a good, relaxed team. But those tiny little concepts, those tiny little margins for error are going to be even smaller because they're going to find ways. They're going to be realized, like, listen, we're not the most talented team. We need to win with, like you said, great defense, great special teams, and winning with their brain, winning with their smarts, right? Those games where Bill Belichick called timeouts so early, what are we doing here? Why are we calling? Even Mac Jones was like, "What are you doing? Why are we calling timeouts?" Right? Like, that is where this year was so different. Don't you feel that way?
Yeah. So one point I want to bring up too about the Jack Jones thing. We also had a year where we have two people running our defense. Like, we not only do we have dysfunction on the offense, we don't have a clear voice on the defense. You've got Gerard Mayo and you've got Steve Belichick, and they're very, very different people. Gerard Mayo is a very outspoken. He was a player, and people respect the crap out of that. And then you have Steve Belichick, who's a very smart guy. Obviously, we know who his father is, so he's a very smart defensive mind. But again, who do you go to when you have problems? Who do you go to? Because no one is the boss of either one. They're both just defensive, people running the defense.
I love you brought up too, though. You even said to me the other day that Gerard Mayo was the one in the meetings.
Yeah.
He was the one running the meetings, but Belichick was calling the plays.
Exactly.
That confuses players. You're going, wait, Gerard Mayo was the one that told us to do this, but now Steve is telling us the play.
Yep.
So who do we talk to if we don't like the play? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that confuses guys. Like, it doesn't matter if even if it's Devin McCourty, who have been there for years.
Well,
right?
Tyler, you know how well everything runs with two people, right? Like, that's why the United States has two presidents.
Oh yeah.
England's got two kings.
Yeah.
I have two, I have two district leaders. I have two store leaders. I have, I work.
Principals.
You just got two principals. So we all know how well it works. So so the confusion on why it's not working here is obviously very clear and evident.
Yeah. It is. No, I completely agree with that wholeheartedly, because that just, and I love how people say that, and people go here and go, well, two voices are better than one. Not necessarily, guys.
No, we need
those two voices could be very different voices.
They're very different.
Some players want one voice, while the other players want the other voice.
It's very
there's the disconnect.
Yeah. So I think in my ideal world, you bring Bill O'Brien in, you make Gerard Mayo a assistant head coach, and he oversees the defense. Yep. Then Steve Belichick can either be our defensive coordinator, or again, he can be the defensive play caller and stuff, and then Gerard Mayo still oversees the defense. It's the same thing you have last year, but now Gerard Mayo feels safe. He feels better. He feels like he's being heard, and he feels like he's being used correctly. You have Bill O'Brien on the offense. Joe Judge, I think, can make him as an offensive assistant and special teams.
Yeah.
You make him, because obviously him going down to special teams is a demotion, but you make him an offensive assistant, and you make him the special teams coach, and you just go from there, and you go from there. If you want to move some other inside the building people around, some offensive assistants we don't know, move some people around and give them first time jobs, that's completely fine. But no matter what, there needs to be a clear head of the table on all three sides in all three phases. There has to be a clear head of the table.
And I agree with that, because you even said about Joe Judge, right? I don't think they should fire Cam McCord. Again,
No.
Cam McCord had a tough year as special teams coordinator. He did.
Yeah.
You can attest to that. He was not that great, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think he deserves to be fired.
No.
Right? You put Joe Judge in there as the main guy. You have McCord as the assistant. And again, he might see it as a demotion, but he still is there. He'll learn behind Joe Judge more. And then when Joe Judge does leave, or whatever it may be, Cam McCord then takes over again.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should condemn these guys for a badly coached year, because Bill put them in these positions.
Yep.
Right? It's all go back to Bill, and that's kind of where I'm going with that. But let's bring it to for the last few minutes of this. Let's bring in some draft concepts and some draft knowledge, and let's see
Let's
what
do
we
it.
can kind of throw in here.
Of course.
Now, we can sit here and go that the Patriots need tackles, right?
Absolutely.
You agree with that? They need tackles.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. 100% agree.
We talked yesterday, though, they need corners.
They do need corners. I think they don't. I wouldn't say corners, but they need a guy that's going to be in there, and he's going to be the big guy. We need someone taller than 6 foot, 6'1", or at least somebody that's very physical. Very physical. We have a lot of cornerbacks that play off the ball, and they're waiting. They're fast, and they're waiting for the ball. They're going to be a ball hawk. We need more people that are going to disrupt the ball instead of just going for the ball. That's what we need.
And I agree with that, because that's the one thing that I think we just don't have on this team. We have good corners. We don't have elite corners.
Yeah.
We don't have big corners. I think our biggest corner is Jalen Mills. I think he's 6 foot, maybe.
It's
maybe a little bit taller, maybe.
well. I mean, injuries aside, we do have who we drafted a couple of years ago, Jojuan Williams, but that's obviously going correct, and it's growing great for us.
I don't think he's on the team anymore, actually, to be honest.
Might not be. He might not be. I think they probably released him after his third apparent injury.
Yeah, because that guy was 6'4", 220. Everyone thinking, oh my God, okay, this guy's finally, we're gonna have a guy who guards tight ends, a guy on the outside.
We're gonna have another Brandon Browner, and we had a guy on the sideline.
Yeah, that was definitely that was something to watch. I'll say that.
Yeah, it was an experiment.
It was an experiment, and two names that I want to throw out to you, and I'll get your opinion on this.
Mhm.
The guy we talked about yesterday, Devin Witherspoon.
Yep.
Okay, guy from Illinois. He's about 6 foot, about 190, I think. Yeah, about 185.
Mhm.
Like I said, let me tell you right now, this guy is aggressive.
Yep.
He is physical. Okay, you want a physical corner who can play man coverage and who will step up on your top receiver and just jam him out the line. Let's talk about this guy.
Yep.
Okay, Devin Witherspoon was rated as the top corner in college football.
Yeah.
Okay, and everyone's gonna go, Devin Witherspoon, where'd he come from? Illinois? Like, he wasn't a top-rated guy coming out of high school. No, he was a 3-star recruit. He wasn't even a name that people really thought about.
Nope.
Right? Everyone thinks about Keely Ringo, Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Eli Rich from Alabama. All these guys, they're like, well, these are the top names. These are from the top colleges. Illinois is a really good school. They had a great year this year. People aren't realizing.
Mhm.
And Devin Witherspoon is a guy that they just got him. I would not be mad about it.
No.
Because he's only 6 foot, so he's not the tallest guy in the world, but he's got length. He is long.
What was the thing you were bringing up yesterday about how many snaps he played in man-to-man?
Yeah, so he played about 782 snaps for the season, right?
Mhm.
680 of those snaps were in man coverage. Think about that.
That's phenomenal.
High percentage of man coverage.
Yeah.
And that is like one-on-one. That doesn't mean that it's him one-on-one with a safety on the top. No, he's playing the top receiver and going man-to-man on him.
Yep.
That's his guy, right?
Yep.
And then the other snaps he played like zone coverage
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit more off the ball. But he was right on with those guys. And he is one guy that I think you could get in the later rounds. So I wouldn't. So if there's not a tackle there at 14 that you sit here and say, and we'll go over them quick about the ones that we want.
Yep.
But Devin Witherspoon's a guy that I think you could trade back and still get.
Nice.
I think you could get some draft capital, draft this guy, and I think he'd be pretty happy.
I mean, let's talk about last year when we traded back two times in the first quarter.
Yeah,
we traded back 2 times. I think we traded to Green Bay and Kansas City.
Yeah, and then we got what was his name?
Cole Strange.
From where? Where was he from?
Chattanooga.
Again, I think he had a good year.
You can't fault him. You can't fault him, man. There's so many things. I really think that last year was a very underrated draft from Bill. I think a lot of the names were lost because of where they came from and where we picked them. But again,
and let's go over those names.
Yep.
You got Cole Strange.
Yep.
Chattanooga. Everyone, even us, we were watching the game. I think we were at Dave & Buster's.
We were at Dave & Buster's, and we both sat there and stared at each other going, what just happened?
Like, we were, even us as fans, we were like, this does not make sense at all, right? But it's Bill.
It's Bill.
He's going to zigzag every which way, and we're going to sit here and go, was that a good pick? I'm not really sure.
I mean, reports are reports, and there was a lot of reports coming out that he was going to take in like second round, pick 2, 3, 4, something like.
Didn't the Rams say that?
The Rams. Well, I think the Rams had the third. I think the Rams had a third round pick. That's what they were talking about. But I think I heard reports that the Bucks were looking for him because they needed a tackle, and there was a couple more early second round picks. That's where they thought they were going to grab him because he was on the board. He was the next available tackle. He was the next rated tackle on the board. After the first 2 or 3 tackles went in the first round, he was the next one on the board. But again, wherever Bill picks him, Bill's not going to move back 4 spots if he thinks he's going to be taken 3. Bill's just going to take the guy.
And I think we both need to kind of just accept that Bill's going to draft who Bill wants to draft.
Yes.
Even with all the mock drafts, we can go through every mock draft. We can even make our own mock draft and sit here and think who we think they should pick, but it doesn't usually go that way.
No.
And again, there are years where Bill has drafted guys that people thought he would draft, and he did, right? And it didn't work out sometimes, honestly.
No.
You know, see, this is what I want to say.
You want to bring up one more thing? You want to bring up one more thing about how, right before they called Chattanooga and they called Cole Strange that all of us wanted Nakobe Dean?
Oh, yeah.
The whole Boston, Massachusetts area were rooting and chanting for Nakobe Dean, and so we could have drafted Nakobe Dean.
We could have, but you have to look at that and say, from my point of view, Nakobe Dean was a very good player.
Very good player. Very good player.
Very smart.
Yep.
But he had so many injuries.
Yep.
I mean, he was injured.
And that was a thing that, like, the injury thing, we didn't even we knew about it obviously, but the reports coming out that he wasn't even healthy for the draft, we didn't even hear that out until after the fact.
No, I know.
Obviously, Bill must have known. Bill must have known that he's just not available.
He knows Georgia. Kirby Smart and him know each other, so he's gonna call Kirby up and say, "Hey, listen, what's going on with Nakobe Dean? Is he healthy? Is he not? Like, we want to know." And we can say that maybe it was because of his injuries or maybe because of his height. He's only 5'11", 230. He wasn't a big guy.
No.
He was smart. He was fast. He had coverage skills, but he wasn't he wasn't this huge 6'3", 6'4", 240-pound linebacker. That's not what he was. He won with his smarts. And Bill loves that, but I think he saw it and said, this guy is injured too much.
Yep.
He's undersized. Is he going to be what people think he is? And that's fine. I mean, that's fine that you can go with him. And again, Nakobe Dean could turn out to be a great player for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. We can't determine that right off the bat. It was 1 year. He was injured again.
Yep.
So we don't know.
Yep.
He didn't play much. So we can't
make a clear designation if he's a bust or not.
Like 1 year Cole Strange and 1 year Nakobe Dean. Again, I don't want to compare these guys because they were taken in different rounds: 4th round, 5th round, 1st round. Totally different players, positions, all that.
Yep.
But I think this draft was one of his better drafts.
Yep.
And Bill needs to continue with that.
Yes.
And that is where I think we need to really start to see the change in development draft wise, right?
Yep.
Because there are 4. want to say 3 or 4 tackles in this draft, early, like first round, that I would say are worth taking. Right? You have a guy in Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. He's 6'6". He's about 315 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
He's got length. So this is if you're drawing up a offensive tackle, this is him.
Mm-hmm.
Guy, right? But he's a 1-year starter. That's it.
Okay.
1 year. So he is definitely inexperienced, but he has all the measurables you want in a tackle, right? So he's somebody that I think the Patriots will look at, but I think he's going to go top 10 just because of his measurables.
Okay.
I think someone's going to reach for him, and that happens in the draft.
Yep.
You take reaches because you look at them, you're like, wow, this guy's got all the measurables, and you can teach technique. You can teach, experience will come with snaps and all that. So he's somebody that I definitely think they could invest in if he's there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have another guy that I think, Peter Skoronsky, all right, Northwestern boy. He's about 6'4", 294 pounds.
Okay.
You're going to sit here and go, well, he's a little undersized, right? 294, he's not that. I mean, well, that's what Cole Strange was. Cole Strange wasn't a 300-pound guy.
Yep.
But Peter Skoronsky is a guy with, and this is so underrated because I listened to a report from Dante Scarnecchia that they don't even care about arm length. They're like, listen, arm length is just a invalid observation when it comes to the draft. In his mind, obviously some other people have different opinions, but they don't see that. He is a guy that you want to talk about technique, you want to talk about footwork, you want to talk about just he has it. This is the guy. This is the guy that I would love because he has everything you want. He has not arm length, but pass sets, run blocking, the nastiness in these tackles that you want. He has it.
Nice.
Right? He is a technician. Okay, he is a technician. He will come right in and be a plug-and-play starter. Okay, like I said about Paris Johnson, he might take a year to develop.
Yeah.
That comes into the guy, Broderick Jones from Georgia. This guy is another guy that I think is definitely a up-and-coming tackle. He's 6'4", 315 from Georgia.
Okay.
He's coming from SEC. He's coming from a high-powered octane college who just won the national championship.
Yep.
We know what Georgia does. But Broderick Jones, he needs time, and I want everybody to understand that he needs time. He's not ready yet. He's not. He has the skill. He's gonna get better. But you watch his tape. His pass sets aren't great. He's slow to get outside on the blocks. But he has the measurables. He's an elite athlete. He is, but he needs time. More time than I think Paris Johnson needs. That's my own opinion. Again, we're just here to give our own opinion, but that's what I think about him.
We're here to give opinions, facts, and stats, Tyler.
I'll bring that right in.
Yeah.
And the one last guy that I want to go over quick, that I think could be a second round guy is DeJuan Jones, right? He's 6'8", 360. He's a big boy. He is also from Ohio State.
There you go.
There you go. He plays right tackle.
Okay.
So I think Bill needs to sit here and go, what would you rather have, left tackle or right tackle? Well, we can all sit here and go, Trent Brown should have been your right tackle, but we don't need to get into that right now. We can kind of talk about that later as the time goes on. But I think that DeJuan Jones could be a late second round pick who, then you can take a corner in the first round maybe.
Yeah.
Like Joey Porter, Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah,
doing above.
If we decide to go the cornerback route, and we take one at 114, then at 214, if a developmental right tackle is there and someone that we know that he can learn underneath us and he's young and I think I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Like
and that's what I mean.
It's this
left tackle in the free agency. We have a lot of money to spend.
Yeah.
You guys got like Orlando Brown Jr., who I think is, unless he's franchise tagged by the Chiefs, I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. They're trying to get a new contract from him. I don't know. He can be franchise tagged, but either way, I think he's gonna be a free agent. So he's definitely someone I would look long and hard at because he's only 26. But I think that I think we definitely have some things to think about.
Yep.
The Patriots too, at least. I think that they are going to be getting to the grind. Like I said, they're already there with offensive coordinator. They're already there. Look with Gerard Mayo.
Yep.
They're already there. So they're definitely in the process. And we're going to keep looking at our process. We're going to keep doing our research that we need to do to give you guys, those opinions, those facts, and those stats.
Perfect.
So I want to say thank you for a great first show.
I would think we think that went as smoothly as we possibly could believe it. That went perfect. We'll be with you guys again next week. Anything, we're going to put everything on YouTube and we'll put everything on Twitter. Don't be afraid to ask us questions or anything that you guys want to see in episodes, anything that we want to talk about. Don't be afraid. Like that's what we're here for.
We want as much questions on Twitter, on YouTube, whatever it may be. We want to be able to kind of give you as much kind of sports knowledge that we have, and so don't be afraid to reach out to us.
And if you guys have anything bad to say, Tyler's name is spelled Tyler, and you can just direct it right to him. That's perfect.
Bring it on to me. I can take it. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, it was a great talking to you, Tyler.
You too, Garrett.
All right. See you next week.